everyone. A very, very warm welcome to another exciting episode of Impact Activators podcast. And this is the special episode on Mother's Day and we have dedicated this podcast to honoring the motherhood. And we will be talking about the topic which is often left behind because motherhood is an experience which is to be cherished, and it like a lot of positivity is also there, but there it has a lot of struggles and hardships which nobody talks about. And today we have amazing women who will be sharing their experiences about motherhood and sharing their unique insights. And one of the important things is that this day is actually we are coinciding, actually it is coincided by Valerie's book, and I'm so happy that she wrote that book. First of all, congratulations, Valerie, for
Yay! Congrats.
completed.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So over to you, Valerie.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Ambreen, and thank you everyone for joining. I just absolutely love all of these women, and this is an incredible group of moms that I feel like we as mothers should come together and talk about not only like the joys of motherhood, but also the challenges. Also, like the having motherhood unplugged a bit, right? And so I want to introduce you guys to these incredible moms here, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves, but so I'm going to go around, but I have here, just to name off everyone, we have Barbara Vokatis, Laurie Moser, Cheyenne Halbert, Nancy Gentle Boudrie, Zoe Bishop, Jen Cáceres, and Melissa Dufrene. So, Barbara, can you introduce yourself and a little bit about you?
Hi, everyone. I am an educator, currently teaching as a professor. I teach those who want to be teachers. And I'm also a podcaster, I'm an author, and I have a therapy dog with whom I go to school. We've been doing it for 7 years. And this is considered a more innovative ways of really doing education. And I'm trying to do what I can to spread awareness about these ideas among my students and widely on social media. Thank you.
And you have a daughter, correct, Barbara?
Yes, my daughter, my child, my kid is 18 years old, and she is neurodivergent.
I love it. Thank you so much, Barbara. And Laurie?
Hi, everyone. I am the founder of Staying Active Health and Wellness, and I am a mom to 4 kids, ages 13 to 22. And I work with moms that have teens struggling with mental health challenges to help them go from feeling like they're constantly walking on eggshells, which is how I felt, to feeling calm, grounded, so that they can fully show up to support and connect with their teen no matter what is going on.
Thank you so much, Laurie. I love that. Cheyenne.
Hey, everyone. So my name is Cheyenne, and I'm the Director of Operations for a suicide prevention and mental health nonprofit called Mind Muscle Pro. And I'm also a growth and marketing specialist for the Natural Parents Company. And I'm very passionate about whole body wellness. So in all the various roles that I have, we really love to explore the mental and physical well-being of all ages.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. And Nancy?
Hi, everyone. I am a mother of 2 and I have bonus children. So I'm a blended family of 5 additional, so 7 in total with 10 grandchildren. So love the topic of motherhood, especially as it relates to blended families. But I, for the last 20 years, have been a mindset coach. I'm fortunate enough to work with high-powered, high-stress, rapid-fire environment executives, as well as other moms and women like myself who are feeling pulled in multiple directions, trying to wear all those hats and be everything to everyone. So I do corporate speaking, leadership development, and executive and life coaching.
Love it. Thank you so much. And Zoe?
Hey everyone, so I'm Zoe Bishop. I'm a professional encourager. I help mums thrive in their day-to-day parenting by opening their eyes to positivity, gratitude, self-love and reflection. And that's through calls with me, private programs, in-person wellbeing days if you're here in the UK, and my Blessed Before You're Dressed store. So my mission is to kind of help mums go from underestimating themselves to believing that they've got this. Because, you know, let's face it, us mums are always way too focused on playing down what we do. So yeah, I have 2 daughters aged 9 and 12 and a half, and it's great to be here with you all.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And Jen?
Hi, I'm Jen Cáceres. I am the founder and CEO of Perpetual Capacity. I do coaching and consulting for primarily construction and manufacturing. And there are a lot of women in construction and manufacturing, a lot of moms, and I was one of those. And so today I work not just with moms, but people from all throughout the industry. But my story is kind of unique. So I'm here today to share some of that, how that actually my mom journey took me from that to an independent consultant and coaching role. So I'm excited to join all of you today. I also have a podcast, Stop, Drop, and Roll, if anyone is listening to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jen. And last but not least, Melissa.
Hi, everyone. I am a mother to 2 sons. My oldest is about to turn 10 and my youngest is 7. And I am the co-owner of Rise Center for OCD and Anxiety. We are a outpatient mental health clinic that specializes in OCD and anxiety. And our mission is to increase access to effective evidence-based treatment and training for that style of treatment in Louisiana. And as part of that endeavor, we have for the last 2 years been working really hard with a local nonprofit, OCD Louisiana, to offer a summer camp style therapeutic program for children and adolescents with anxiety and OCD, which is kind of the first of its kind in Louisiana. And we're so proud and excited to do that. And so I'm so happy to be here talking with all of you, especially in any way I can contribute from the perspective of anxiety and OCD and how that experiences our impact as parents or our experiences with our children.
I just love this, you guys. Thank you, Melissa. And thank you all. I think this really, as you guys are going around, makes me so I feel like, you know, for us moms, it's a bit of this like identity loss we feel a little bit. Like I know once I became a mom, everyone just stopped calling me Valerie in the hospital. They were like, Mom, you know, do this, or Mom, like, wow, you're feeling, which is all in good intention, but I almost felt like I lost my name overnight. And I think it goes to show as we're introducing each of us that we're more than just moms, and motherhood's beautiful. It's a beautiful name, but there's also ourselves. And I think it's so important to talk about that and to talk about, you know, how can we lift each other us up, but also find ourselves as well. I think it can be a loneliness. We could feel alone. And I would love to talk more about, you know, what are some struggles that we as moms can face. I would love for, you know, I'm just going to, if you want to answer the question, you know, maybe like raise your hand, or otherwise I can just pick on someone in the room here. Maybe I see Laurie. So maybe Laurie, can you tell us a bit of struggles, Mom, that you've faced before?
Yeah, I think from my personal experience, the struggle that I faced as a mom when my daughter who struggles with mental health challenges, was going through a crisis. And the struggles that I faced as a mom at that time is feeling like a failure. Like I think like my go is that talking about mental health with peers, teachers, students, everybody becomes as normal as saying, how was your day? So at that time, I think I still felt this huge shame that my daughter was struggling so much that had reached a crisis, and that somehow I had failed as a mom. And I know that a lot of the moms that I talk with, they feel that way when their child is, they feel alone, they feel helpless, and they feel shame and like they have somehow failed as a mom. So I think that's really important that we're doing things like this and offering resources and help to let moms know that they haven't failed, that they're not alone, and that there's lots of support out there.
So true. So true. I can really identify with that shame feeling. It's so hard to kind of, I feel like it goes inward, and it's almost like going outward, like having talks like this, having each other to support. And, and life is not linear, right? Like, I feel like we think it's going to go a certain way, and then something happens or life happens, and like it just kind of blindsides us. And then how do we do that, not only for ourselves, but then also for our kids? And, Jen, can you share with us, you had mentioned that there was this transition that took place for you. Can you share with us a bit more about that?
Sure, absolutely. And this may really relate to some of you on the panel, but also some other listeners. I found myself in a corporate environment where I often describe it. I was wearing roller skates on that career ladder, and they were all oiled up, and I was sliding, and it was messy, and it was not not very professional for me, but no one else knew it. Kind of to Laurie's point, there was a lot of shame. I have a daughter who's in her 20s, and she was sick with an illness for a really long time, and I reluctantly, now seeing in a clear way, I put a lot of myself and my career ahead of that. And now stepping back as a parent and being literally forced to leave, like, just in a sense, right? Like, I knew it was the right thing to do for so many reasons. And just that time to be able to reflect and look at what are we doing as moms. I mean, we have so many hats, especially if we have a role outside of the house. Where are we spending that energy, and how are we preventing ourselves from feeling ashamed and not sharing those things? That's what was getting in my way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. In fact, I can actually relate to what you're all saying. And that's so true that lots of time that we are maybe putting so much effort and so much efforts and time to the career because we think that that's what we like society and people around us expect us to do. And that's why we feel shame that, oh my God, that we are not doing good at the career, but at the same time, we are also, as a mother, like we have this consciousness and then feeling that, oh my God, we cannot leave our kids as well. And that, I think that struggle is a constant pressure that we feel, and that leads to a lot of mental health problem. And I think Cheyenne can also second that, because she's also dealing with lots of mental health problems and she's an advocate on that. So I think that is one thing that is really, really causing the problem. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's so true. I know for myself, I struggled a lot with anxiety, and it was a lot, the anxiety, the fear, frustration sometimes. Melissa, I know that we had connected based on just a lot of my own story with OCD and anxiety, and I would love for you to share more about like just that anxiety component or whatever else you'd like to share.
Yeah, well, you guys hit so much of it. Just if we kind of boil it down to its basics, I think that a lot of that shame or guilt about experiences we've had, even just internal experiences or external experiences, and that shame and guilt can really contribute to that anxiety cycle that can be fueled so easily. And what I guess sort of concerns me the most about that from the motherhood perspective is the way that can lead us to isolate, that we don't want people to know, or maybe are afraid of what their reactions might be if we talk about these things. It's kind of funny timing. I had in my close group of friends and, our group chat, one of my friends texted all of us this morning saying like, I don't need anybody to do anything, but I just need you guys to know this is what's going on. And it's really the typical life parent stuff. My partner's sick. My toddler yells at me when I don't let them do it by themselves. My older one is suddenly a teenager and rolling their eyes at me, and I just feel like I can't do anything right. And I think those little kinds of moments where maybe we could talk ourselves out of telling a friend or telling whoever about that, like, oh, this isn't a big enough deal, I shouldn't bother people. But that experience of sharing those things, and yeah, we can't do much to fix that for her, but we can be there for her in that way. And I think sometimes we can kind of forget just the little steps that we can take for ourselves to maybe not remove that shame or isolation, but at least manage it a little bit or cope with it a little bit.
Oh, I love that. So true. And I would love to talk also about, I'm thinking about that, Melissa, and everything that you guys have been saying about this kind of feeling shame, this community, this talking to others. And another component, I feel like, like with Zoe, you talk about being blessed before you're dressed, and like showing that gratitude. And for me, I think that can be helpful sometimes, even if it's like sharing that with my friends or in a group or something. I would love for you to like either share that perspective or anything else you'd like to share.
Yeah, sure. So, blessed before you're dressed is like a mantra that I came up with a couple of years ago, just all about, just being grateful as soon as you wake up. And it's just kind of about setting that sort of tone. And you can kind of use that gratitude. Gratitude is a great way to reframe things. So I found that, like particularly helpful, when being a mom, and it helps you kind of like reframe and like reshift things in your mind. So that's been like just super helpful for me, and we can talk about gratitude a bit later on, but it's it's just about being grateful for those moments. And sometimes it's really difficult, when they spill like a glass of milk, whatever. I used to get so angry, I don't know why, when things got spilled or things got knocked over, and it would just drive me crazy, and I'd end up shouting, and it just wouldn't, it would always end up and play out the same way. So I just kind of to really worked on like my own kind of area over that, and self-talk, and just saying it's really, in my own head, it's not that big a deal, and we don't have to let this ruin our whole day, because we all know how that one plays out. You get angry, you end up shouting, and the kids go off, you feel terrible about it, but actually they're not even thinking about it anymore. Like they're kind of over it. But it's just always that thing then, the guilt. It's such a big thing, I think, for mums, is just that guilt. And that's, it can be around so many different things. It can be around the guilt of working, it can be around the guilt of not working. And we are so good at mums just like, playing down what we do, what we're dealing with. So gratitude for me has just really helped just kind of reframe things. And at the end of the day, I believe, I have a strong Christian faith, that children are a gift. So, it's to be thankful for that, for those gifts that, you've been trusted to look after. And, I'm not saying that always solves everything, because absolutely it doesn't in the heat of the moment. But it's just about finding those little bits of like joy and laughter, through gratitude.
If I could piggyback off of what Zoe was just saying, I think that's so perfect. And it really is a parenting strategy, that in order to parent in the ways that we want to, we have to first regulate ourselves. And it's hard. It's really, really hard. And having phrases or things like that are kind of that, whatever you want to call it, if that's grounding, if that's helps you get your priorities right, whatever you want to call it, that's a brilliant, simple strategy that so many people can apply.
So true. I love that. Now, Cheyenne and Nancy, I would love for you to share with us as well about the perspective of being a mom, like in a situation of divorce, like I would love for you to share with us more about that.
Sure. So I got married at 19 and I was married 12 years. So all through my 20s, my identity was you're a wife and you're a mom. And so when that ended, I shared custody with my children's father, which I have 3 little boys. They were fantastic. And so, 50% of the time I was like, oh my gosh, who am I? Who am I? I'm sitting here by myself in a quiet house, and I really had to sit with those emotions and with just figuring out who I was. I didn't know in my 30s. Like I went all through my 20s focusing on everyone else. So self-reflection and just really diving deep is huge, because I love the airplane analogy too, where, I freaked out when I first heard this, but they're like, if the masks have to come down, put yours on first before you help someone else, children, all of that. And I was like, why? Well, now obviously I know when your cup is full, then you can serve, then you can give your kids and your family everything. And so it was such a good time to learn self-care. I didn't know what self-care was. I felt guilty. I felt guilty for getting my nails done or taking a minute to myself. Like someone needs me, well, I need me too. So yeah, that was huge.
That's so important. So true.
Yeah. I would chime in on, I think the beautiful thing is you had time, you realized there was this, we talk about the identity and caught up in the identity of being a wife, being a mother. Similar thing to me. And I was married 18 years and everything was wrapped in the, my children, my family. It's not necessarily a choice when you choose to go through this divorce, but if you really look, nobody wants to put their children through that. No one wants to put yourself through that or the other person. I mean, whatever, but life serves up these challenges, and this is the way you have to rise. I felt like it was the best way to teach my children actually is to walk away from this toxic situation. So, but to your point, then you're trying to figure out who I am when they're with their dad. I'm left over here and everything about me and my world revolves around that identity, even down to our friends. They don't even know what to do with it, right? And so everybody is trying to figure it out. And so that was huge. And being a mindset coach, and I was already down this path and already doing what I do. And my tagline is create a life you design, not one of default. So really trying to be very intentional on the woman that I wanted to evolve into being at this juncture of my life. And I remember leaving social set, New Year's, everybody's over it. The first year they're really paying attention to you. And then the second year it's like, okay, let's on to, because we had this party that we would go to as a family. And so I remember driving home from, left early because I didn't want the New Year's ball dropping. Hey, I'm by myself. Everybody's with their partner and I leave. So I got in my car and, had a ton of friends that said, hey, come by. No, I think I'm going to actually go home and be with myself. And really, if I'm going to cry, I'll cry. If I'm going, because they were all spending the night and doing their thing. So all the kids are taken care of. I'm just going to go and be with myself. So a lot of growth that happened in that situation, in processing, everything, the woman that I wanted to evolve to be, and how does she, and all that guilt and all this. I mean, my kids were helping me cook meals because I was working. You've got all this stuff wrapped up. Now, fast forward, just a little note of inspiration for everybody. My kids are 28 and 25, my personal kids, and they're thriving. They are thriving adults. They are doing what they love. I didn't taint them. I didn't. And I taught them a good, solid work ethic. I taught them how to manage their money. I taught them all these things that we struggled with when I walked out of that situation and the struggles that we went through. So I'm very, very, I don't carry guilt for putting them through that. I don't carry but when I was going through it, of course, I was there was all kinds of emotions, right? But now I don't think either one of them would say it. They feel like they came out thriving. So
Yeah, and how many times were you asked or told
yes,
you're ruining their childhood?
yes.
So you have to carry that.
This is a horrible time to go through a divorce. Is there ever a good time to go through a divorce? It's like, no, I'm doing more damage if I stay here.
Exactly.
And teach them dysfunctionality in a marriage than I am if I walk out of this. So
absolutely. And then they get a full happy mom.
Right.
Who has learned so much and invested in herself and is now able to show them how to be a healthy adult, and look where they are now. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. I think it's so much of this embracing imperfection. Like, I know I talk a lot about, like, I thought I was going to be this A+ mom before I was a mom. And once I become a mom, I was like, I didn't study for this. I don't have any control. And like, there's so many things in life that, I can control. The only thing I can control is my verb. And that's like, this whole to mom is to love. Like, I can control that. And sometimes that's the only thing I can control. I can either choose love or fear in this moment, whatever it is, whatever life throws at us, whatever life throws at me. Like, I can take baby steps and do that. And some days are easier than others. Some hours are easier than others. But the more I do that, the more I'm able to, like, live in the moment. And I don't know, that's at least what I'm doing right now. And I just really am so honored that you guys are sharing your stories with us. And Barbara, I would love for you to share too, like, what would you say is like a challenge that you had faced as a mom, or anything else you'd like to share?
So yes, I mean, we all faced challenges, and for me, I thought that being perfect mom also means that I have like a perfect child, like healthy. And it turned out that my child was diagnosed with autism. And it was a very difficult, really, moment for me to kind of like accept it. I guess for me, being a perfect mom was that my child is also perfect, like perfectly healthy. And, but a part of the problem is, I think, at that time, I had no idea what autism is. I had no idea about that you can be on the spectrum somewhere, all different places. I really didn't know much about it. So that's one of the problems. But also this idea of uh, feeling maybe guilty, maybe I have done something wrong. And for a long time, actually, I did not share with anyone except for my closest family that we have autism, right? I didn't share that at all because, and that's a good question to ask, right? Why? I will be revealing more about it in my next book, but I think we just fear judgment. We don't want to be judged. And, not everybody goes through the same experiences you do. So you don't know how others who didn't go through those experiences, how they're going to react to it. So that's probably one of the reasons. So it was a very difficult journey, but it's interesting thing is, though, through this diagnosis and speaking with different professionals, nobody ever asks you how you feel as a mom, like how you doing as a mom with this whole thing, with the diagnosis. How you doing? How you feel about it? Do you need any help? Like, nobody cared, to be honest. So that's an interesting situation, right? And at that time, it was about 10 years ago, I didn't know much about like how you take care of yourself, self-care, all the things that you were talking about, how you can still carve out some time for different things to just feel better about yourself, because it really is helpful when you exercise, when you do some meditation. But I didn't do any of these things. I was just all in my thoughts. So right now there's just so many more resources, I think, and social media also is helpful to some extent, depending on who you follow. And I think that Valerie's book will be right, will be very helpful because being a mom, it doesn't mean to be a perfect mom. There's no perfection. When I look at my whole life, nothing I ever started was from the perspective of being perfect at it. It was always actually messy, and then you kind of work on it, right? I just started my podcast. It wasn't perfect, but I just started. And I think that actually this whole experience, which was very painful, especially at the beginning with raising an autistic child, really helped me a lot, even in my professional life, because it connects to my dog therapy, what I do as a professional. I know about autistic children. I can tell my education students about it, how you teach them, how you approach them. I wouldn't have known anything about it if not for having my neurodivergent child. So you don't see everything right away, how it is full package, so to speak. But eventually, you understand that certain things you went through, they do make sense, and they can even help you in all layers of your life if you are willing to tune in those voices and utilize these teaching moments and learning moments to actually do something about them. So it's very important that we have awareness of this. And I think this experience taught me that being a mom is just doing the best out of what you have, really. And right now, when I think about my child, how incredible she is and how talented she is, and I'm thinking, I would never want a different child without diagnosis. Like, this is what is meant to be. But you don't see it right away when it's happening. So this journey is just so important, and it can be long, but we're going to do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you've shared so many struggles which actually a lot of moms going through. And I think that's especially the judgment part is that thing is so, especially from the culture that I am belonging here. It's like everyone here would say that if your house is not clean, and it's like, oh my God, you are not a good mother. Like, see, your kids are doing like are in a, like filthy clothes, or your house is like this, and then you to kind of like all these things internalize that, oh my God, if I'm not able to keep up with that, if I'm not giving a good care to my kid, it's something, there is something wrong with me. And it seems that everything is like the world is all outside perfect and you're the only one who's not doing correct. And I think that is again one thing that I really want to highlight here is that sometimes the other women actually become so much judging that we feel really bad about it. I mean, it's because we usually as a mother, like, we have this interaction with all the women, but sometimes it is sad also that they make us feel that way. And in that moment when we have these kind of community or the friends, I think so we need to stay away from those people. And then they say that you need to surround yourself with the right people. It's very, very important for that time that you don't need to listen to all those people. Or sometimes in my culture, I would say that mostly those like elderly women, sometimes then they give you all those myths and something which makes you even feel more bad that, oh my God, they kind of portray themselves as they know everything, which is again makes you feel more bad about this. And as Barbara said that at that time, especially when you are going through with having a neurodivergent kid, it becomes even more difficult because nobody around you understand that what's going on. At the end of the day, they blame you for having like a off, or blame you for producing that child, which there is, of course, there's no there's nothing wrong with you for doing that. But this is kind of thing that blame that comes from society, from the other people. And then it's so important not to internalize that blame. instead and keep your identity intact from this. So that's very, very true.
So true. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, everyone. And like as in the last like 5 or so minutes of this panel, I would just love for just to open up the floor to allow you guys to just share what are some joys or what are some challenges, anything that's on your heart that you'd like to share with all of us today.
I can start.
Yeah, I think.
Let's see. Do you want me? I don't know who Zoe. I think maybe did I hear her say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say just some things that have come out. I love listening to everybody's thoughts. Like just in terms of the challenges and things that I have had is sometimes when you kind of, I struggle in letting my kids find their own way sometimes because of the way that like I do things and like, oh, well, try this, like do it this way. Like this is kind of like, but that's because that's what works for me. Like, and sometimes we just need to kind of, shift that a little bit and think, okay, that works for me, but maybe that might not, work for my 12-year-old in how I do it. And I think that comes back to like actually listening to your kids and letting them have a say, letting them share. And again, it's all about, like, I think a huge thing is communication. And I talk to both my daughters when they're in my tummy, like from literally from day dot. And I think that's massively helped when a lot of people were like, they can't hear you, Zoe. Like, why are you talking to them? I'm like, no, I genuinely believe like they can understand your tone. They can, they get to know you. And I've kind of tried to like really carry that on and just have this like open communication, and whether that's through bedtime chats, whether that's through like, sitting around, like having tea, and just things like that. But talking to them and actually like listening. Because I think, we're all kind of sometimes really good at pretending to listen and then just moving on to the next thing. So that's been like, really helpful for me. And also I think, and I'd love to know everyone else's opinion on this kind of difference between being a mom and being a best friend, because I think we're mums and it's a different role. And you do have to be that mum role, and you have to, do the discipline. And I'd just love to, if that's okay, Val, to just kind of just get everyone's thoughts on that, if that's all right.
Sure thing. Does anyone have any thoughts on that question?
Well, I think it's a challenge to sometimes figure out how to have that connective relationship in a way where our children want to communicate with us, not just about the good stuff, but particularly about the hard stuff, and how to create that relationship without being the best friend. Like, can I be someone who puts down boundaries or limitations, and can I be the person that is fun and shares and things? And it, I think, can be easy to forget how basic creating that can be, whether it's like for me with two boys, whether it's like just sitting on the couch with them when they're playing a video game and asking questions and actively like watching what they're doing and taking an interest in it, even though I haven't really played a video game since I was a teenager. Or my son wanted to do a fantasy baseball league. I don't know much about baseball, certainly not individual players, but just taking that time to share in those things, I think, can be a really simple step that most parents can take to create that relationship without having to change any sort of boundaries or guidelines that we set down for our children and for our families.
One thing that I do every single day, and I've been doing for years, to keep that connection is highs and lows of the day. So many times we say, how's your day? Good, fine. I don't accept answers like that. Like, you tell me the highest point of your day and the lowest point of your day. And we usually do that at dinner, and they really feel seen. And then they're like, okay, I got 2 highs and 1 low, or, but it's just such a good way. It's a simple touch point, but just such a good way to know exactly where all your kids are at, how are they doing mentally? How are they doing physically? What do they need from me at that time? Because I know everyone's so busy, but just that touch point is really helpful.
I'll say I didn't always do a great job at that when my kids were little, but to your point, Zoe, and you as well, Cheyenne, about just actively listening, because as adults we're too busy. We're on to the next thing, or we're thinking about how we're going to respond to them, right? So that actively listening, and I have two kiddos in their 20s now, and so just intentionally spending time with them and also teaching them how to be leaders of themselves. I do a lot of leadership development, and so they don't always get that at work. They don't always get that from social media, right? I think it was Barbara who said, who knows what what you're going to get on social media. And so just being that influence, and that influence in home, I think. So Zoe, I don't have the answer for when they're little, because I didn't do a great job, but I guess we get another chance as they get a little bit older. So.
But I think we can always apologize to them too. I'm sorry that I was busy or something, right? And but I agree, devoting some time to them. And I think there was a research that you don't really need like the whole day, right? Or multiple hours. At least 20 hours of like undivided attention time when you give to the child. So that means for me, because my neurodivergent child has some interests and she cannot always share those interests with certain children because they very just kind of like idiosyncratic, very just kind of really to her. She doesn't have too many people she knows who share those interests. So she really likes when I devote some time to her. So spending that time with her, and I don't have to say much, although sometimes I get to my mom, what do you think about this? So I do put like this curiosity hat on me. I might be not interested in this interest that she has, but I am curious about it. I do want to learn a little bit about what she is interested in, even though I'm not exactly into it. But yeah, this is really interesting. I want to know what you like so I can learn more about it and we can have a conversation. And this is how you build friendship. And also it links to your role as a parent. So there is, I think to me, there is no such a thing like right now I'm a friend and in 5 minutes now I am a parent. I don't think that's possible to divide it, right? You are those things together all the times. I think maybe my thinking is not correct. But again, being a mother does not mean that there's only one way. So I consider them a mother and a friend all at the same time. And I don't know if it's right or wrong, but Valerie says there's no right or wrong way. That's how I'm thinking about it. And I hear from my child, hearing feedback from your own kid, I think makes a big sort of confirmation for you as a parent, how you're doing, right? And I heard from my kid, Mom, I think you're a really awesome mom and I love to talk to you. I was like, what else do you want to hear? I think this is really a cool thing to hear. And I'm sure you heard these things at certain points. And that is probably the best validation that you both great mom and great friend. That's all you need to know.
I could chime in here on that. I think one thing that just comes to mind now as my kids are older as well, that is important is that vulnerability of yourself, showing your authenticity. This does not mean a blubbering, crying, I didn't, not the total that, just a little bit. It's no different. It's like, if you want them to be vulnerable with you, you need to be vulnerable with them. So it's this, I think it's a fine line, and this probably opens Pandora's box, but I do think there's an element there that's very important. And that's part of being a mom and part of being this beautiful blend. Because when I was going through my divorce and both of my kids went through therapy, that was the one thing that the therapist said, you have to show that you are just as much in pain as they are. And that was formed because I thought I had to be strong. I thought I had to, put on this game face. But it didn't mean, she goes, they don't need to know the down and dirty that I'm in there shaking like a leaf because I'm scared to death of, what I'm going to be, what I got to do next or whatever. So I think there's this fine line, some kind of openness, or you present that and you're not always just guarded. You're going to have the best exchange, whether it's, in parenting or relationship, because you're building this sense of trust. And I think that's what I think is important.
When that moment comes for me, they're like, I think it's time for an iced mocha. I think it's time. So they got my back there.
I love it.
Is there anything else that anyone would like to share as we wrap up? I appreciate so much of just this vulnerability, is talking with us moms, and really just, I want to listen to the replay and just like build myself up too, because it's like so important, just these reminders. And all motherhood's beautiful, but it's also hard, and it makes me think of like just, in nature, we have sunny days, we have cloudy days, stormy days, but it always changes. There's always seasons, and I just love it all. And I love the people that I come to meet through motherhood. So thank you so much, you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really love this discussion, and every point that you share is like really deep, and I think people need to talk more about it, because motherhood is a beautiful experience, but it has a lot of challenges as well. And when we share these challenges, people think that yes, they are not alone suffering in the silos. So I think thank you so much, everyone, for sharing all these great, wonderful insights.
Thank you so much. And be sure for anyone who's listening to definitely check out all the work that all these incredible women are doing. Y'all are just doing such amazing stuff. We'll make sure we have all of your information in the show notes as well, so y'all can connect with everyone.
Yeah, and last but not the least, please check out Valerie's book, To Mom is to Love. It is out on Amazon. Thank you so much for writing that book. I think it's much, much needing, because it talks about all these struggles that mom has to go. And most of all this, we need to realize that we don't need to chase perfection to be a perfect mother. It's just that we need to embrace that imperfection, so we can experience this motherhood, I think, more enjoyable. We can enjoy this journey instead of having that burden or having that pressure on us that we have to go through. So please do check out. I have already shared the link on the comments, and I'll make sure that I'll share all the links of all those ladies in the comments for this replay. So thank you so much for joining. It is a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.